The former Senate President, Frank Drilon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Senate President. Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, at the outset, allow me to express my appreciation to your committee for hearing Senate Bill 1215, even if the Senate is on break. And in that regard, let me express my appreciation for the effort of the Senate President in filing this very important measure. Now, I consider the passage of this law as as urgent. And in that regard, I join the call of our chairman to request the President to certify this measure as urgent. Why do I consider this measure as urgent? Mr. Chairman, I think it cannot be denied that our people today are angry. They are angry because of what they see to be the massive corruption in government. Mr. Chairman, I was in the Senate for 24 years and in the Executive Department for 9 years. I have never seen a corruption of this magnitude during the 34 years that I was in public service. And today, Mr. Chairman, in public gatherings, you hear people in unison chanting anti-corruption drives. Last Sunday, I was in the La Salle UP game and basketball game, and for the first time, I see the two cheering squads of these rival universities cheering one chant. Ikulong ang kurakot. Ikulong na yan. And this is a reflection of how our people feel today. And often the question is asked, how did we get here? How did we get to witness such massive corruption in our midst? I have a simple answer. To me, Mr. Chairman, it is the culture of impunity that we see in our midst today. And this impunity, to me, is because of the failure of our citizenry to observe the rule of law. They have disregarded the rule of law because people feel that they can get away with wrongdoing. They feel that they can commit crimes without fear of being punished. In other words, Mr. Chairman, in my humble opinion, it is the failure of our justice system. And I was part of that once, as Secretary of Justice for 4 years. Indeed, I must admit that, I may have failed to do what is needed in order to improve at least the perception of our people on our justice system. And the failure is from the investigation, prosecution, adjudication, and in the punishment phase. There is a failure of our institutions to enforce compliance with the law. And therefore, we see the impunity that we see today in our society. But talking of institutions, we have enough, in my mind, institutions in our system today that should address these anomalies. But we must admit that there is that we see the failure of the system to effectively prevent corruption. The ombudsman, under the Constitution, has the mandate to punish and prevent these anomalies. This is a constitutional power. But today, we need this body being proposed by the Senate President in his bill because of the unrest that we feel in our midst and the need to restore the faith of our people in our democratic system of government. My submission, Mr. Chairman, is that this commission should not be a new body that will be perpetually funded and existed. We have enough institutions in our democracy. In my view, we have to strengthen them. But in the meantime, let us have this ad hoc body in order to restore the faith of our people in our justice system and mollify the people, make them believe that democracy is still the best system for our governance. We therefore urge the chairman and the committee to immediately report to plenary the bill of the Senate President after this committee hearing, and that it be calendared for debates in the Senate before the Senate tackles the national budget. We urge the President, and I join the call of the chairman, to certify the same as urgent. Mr. President, there are precedents to the creation of the ICI. There are precedents. Recall, the most famous, of course, is the Agrava Commission, which was formed in 1986. And you have the Davide Commission, the Feliciano Commission. All of these, Mr. President, were fact-finding bodies, the same as what is envisioned in Senate Bill 1252, because it is consistent with the Constitution that this body be created to be given fact-finding powers. And all of these bodies before, whose existence were challenged in the court, were all sustained by constitutional, except for the Truth Commission. And the Truth Commission was decreed by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional because of the Equal Protection Clause, when the EO itself said that it shall cover only investigations of anomalies of the past administration. That was considered as violative of the Equal Protection Clause. I have other comments on the other parts of the bill, Mr. Chairman, but I will end this opening statement with an acknowledgement of my appreciation to the committee for setting this early. We reiterate our call that this be given top priority by the Senate leadership. And once more, allow me to express, I think I would echo the appreciation of our people on the effort of the Senate President to file this bill. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senate President Drilon. Would members of the ICC, would the ICI, would you have an opening? Oh, does former Chief Justice Puno have an opening statement? You have the floor, sir.
Senate President, I like to think that your preliminary statements eloquently express the necessity for the filing of this bill, and more importantly, its enactment without any unnecessary delay. They also adequately express the anger of our people on the corruption being unearthed, especially on the flood control projects. Likewise, your statements perfectly echo the unanimous opinion of all sectors of our society: the upper class, the middle class, the poor class, the academe, the civic organization, and the churches, on the imperative need for the passage of this bill. And so in the interest of time and to avoid redundancy, uh, I will not make any further prologue or preliminary statements. But I am ready, Your Honors, to give my comments on the different provisions of Senate Bill 1215. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you, Chief Justice Puno. Justice Andres Reyes, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, I'd like to thank Senator Pangilinan, Animo, and Senate President Vicente Soto for this invitation. We thank you because our laws, our creation needs more powers, more refinement. Again, I will just echo what you have said earlier, that this thing is outrageous and makes me cry that how can these people get away with 500 billion pesos? It's our inspiration to work hard. We are only 39 days old. ICI is only 39 days old. For the last 21 days, we only had 3 lawyers. And now we have some volunteers from the PAO and from the other agencies. But we will try our best to be able to full blast investigation of all this fraud. We don't have the facility and we don't have the rules of procedure, but we will already shorten the procedure in spite of no rules allowing us. We will now go on live stream next week. Once we get to be able to have the technical capability with us already. So again, I repeat, we'll be doing live stream next week. And thank you po.
Thank you, Justice Reyes, and that is welcome news that the ICI will do live streaming of its proceedings. People would like to know the facts of these cases and would like to be updated as to the developments and the progress of the investigation. And a live streaming of the proceedings will definitely address this concern of the public. Thank you very much. Secretary Babe Singson, do you have an opening statement? Please go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Senator Pangilinan, and good afternoon to Senate President Tito Soto. Sir, Your Honor, after being in DPWH for 6 years, full 6 years, I could not believe what I was hearing in terms of the magnitude of the corruption. And I tried to analyze, where did the system fail? It looked like it was all over. This is what we've learned so far after we've called witnesses. I think a total of 40 plus have been invited, including 8 senators, 4 congressmen, 4 secretaries, and several other personalities. But recognizing that the procedure, the legal process that we have to follow is so tedious. Bago po may makulong, ang haba ho ng proseso. As compared, you may want to consider, as compared to the 2 gold standards of anti-corruption, which is the ICAC of Hong Kong and the CPIB of Singapore. They have much more powers than all 3 of these agencies that we have combined. Now, as a result of the difficulty and because of the very strong clamor of our people, because of the massive corruption all over the place, under the leadership of Chairman Reyes, we invited a total of 20 government agencies to find out from them what are their administrative powers that we can immediately utilize in collaboration with these agencies. Marami po pala niyan. So we hope that the committee can consider some of these provisions. For example, under the Philippine Competition Commission, you have anti-competition provisions or bid rigging of bids that will penalize for the first instance immediately 100 million. Second instance, 105, 110, all the way to 250 million pesos per incident. We have also identified in other agencies like customs, like CAAP, but more telling is an old executive order, specifically 913. Senator President, 913 is the, you might want to pick up some of those provisions in EO 913 that gives immediate whole departure order, immediate seizure of assets. Marami pala yun na pwedeng gamitin. So if it is already there, it is just a matter of putting all of them under your proposed bill, Mr. Senator. So with that, I will end my opening statement because I can discuss further details in terms of where, how much, and so on. But I will leave it up to the Senate.
Thank you, Secretary Babes. Just to clarify, EO 913 is a DTI executive order.
It's a presidential executive order,
But
empowering the then Minister of Trade.
okay, DTI. Thank you. From the Makati Business Club, Apa Ongpin, the Executive Director, please, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you. Oops. Lakas naman. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. One, we believe that all the ICI sessions should be public, but that the ICI itself should have the authority to declare confidential sessions with no streaming or broadcast. Okay? Because, speaking as a former journalist, this can very easily turn into a circus. I mean, it already has in some cases. Okay? And, the accused are, they're entitled to due process. And, we cannot turn this into a public shaming exercise. No? We want to emphasize that the ICI, as the Senate President has already pointed out, should have additional expanded powers. They should be judicial, investigative, and even confiscatory, like the PCGG used to have. So power of subpoena, power to declare in contempt, and which includes arrest and hold orders after due process. Okay. The commission, whatever we call it, should have the authority to file cases without going through the ombudsman, the DOJ, the Attorney General. We believe it should be that powerful. We propose that the commission be expanded far beyond its current. I mean, there's 20 of these guys right now. It needs to be maybe 10 times the size just to deal with the huge volume of cases, let alone the huge volume of money involved. No, And it should be expanded beyond infrastructure. What we're seeing now, as I think Professor Abante will tell you, is that these guys, the same guys in Congress, and they're worming their way in now to the ayuda, into the social welfare programs. Diba? That's how they're trying to take the money. It's beyond infrastructure. And, as we've always said, we want eyes on Bureau of Customs and Bureau of Internal Revenue. Let's not pretend that there's no corruption there. The ICI or the group should have fiscal autonomy and security of tenure. I mean, in order to be really independent, okay? We believe that, and in fact, future appointments need to be approved by a wider group than just the president at this point. It's just the palace who's appointing people to this thing. No? And finally, we feel that, like Secretary Singson has said, we should look to the examples of Hong Kong and Singapore, and study the charters of those organizations, because although they have slightly different legal systems, those organizations have been very, very effective, obviously, in comparison to our own past experience.
Thank you very much, Apa Ongpin of the Makati Business Club. We now have People's Budget Coalition. Professor Kenneth Abante, go ahead. You have the floor. Where do you teach, Professor?
I teach at the Kennedy School the summers, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. My school. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, Senate President Soto, honorable members of the committee. We are the People's Budget Coalition. Kami po ay grupo ng more than 40 people's organizations and civil society organizations pushing for a transparent, participatory, and accountable budget process. Inaral po namin yung insertions and yung budget documents over the past 20 years. Allow us to share inputs po on what we've found. I think going directly to the subject of today's hearing, we in the People's Budget Coalition support the urgent passage of the Independent People's Commission Bill, empowering it with the powers of contempt, mandating that hearings be open by default unless there are critical meetings that need to be kept confidential, that it be given fiscal autonomy, and that it proactively disclose the tracking of cases pending before the judiciary related to cases of corruption. I was listening to Representative Chel Jokno's interview yesterday about some cases pending before the Sandigan Bayan aging 40 years, Mr. Chair. We think these are critical to be resolved. Today is the first anniversary of severe tropical storm Christine. I am a typhoon survivor and disaster response volunteer that unfortunately we are victims of this massive corruption scandal. Unfortunately, and the tragic truth, Mr. Chair, is that we have lost trust in the integrity of our budget, procurement, and justice systems. We organized rescue relief medical missions in communities po na 2 linggo baha sa Bicol region. There were teachers who needed to do GCash drives in order for their students to go back to school because all their learning kits and even their houses were destroyed by this massive typhoon. Rainfall worse than Ondoy, Mr. Chair and Senate President Soto. That is why our hearts break whenever we heard the news that the 18 major river basin master plans, the major river basin master plans would have just cost 700 to 800 billion pesos. Pero po yung ginastos na sa flood control over the past 10 years ay around 1.7 trillion. Meaning, kung naayos po pala natin yung sistema ng pagplano, sana kami sa Bicol ay hindi binaha ng ganun kalala. Sana po ay ang mga teachers ay hindi nawalan ng mga bahay. Sana po ay hindi sana namatayan at nagkaroon ng serious injury yung aming mga kapwa Bicolano. So this independent commission's People's Commission bill is to us an important cry for help and justice. It is one of the demands of more than 320 organizations and individuals, including Cardinal Ambo David and our bishops, calling for systemic reform after the flood control scandal. We will give you a copy of this statement, Mr. Chair, for the record, and calling for the elimination of pork patronage and opaque budgets in the House version of the budget. At least 256 billion pesos still in the House version of the budget, Mr. Chair. The people are angry. The people want justice. And one of the reasons why we're discussing the Independent People's Commission bill is because in our discussions, we lost trust in the previous ombudsman that was not able to file cases aggressively for those with highest crimes. We consider our justice system to have two tiers, one for the rich and one for the poor. Nauna pa pong makulong ang mga nagprotesta laban sa katiwalian kaysa sa mga tiwali. And lastly, Mr. Chair, we wanted to give the Commission and the committee a sense of proportion about the current flood control scandal. It is only a drop in the bucket, Mr. Chair. The Sumbong sa Pangulo website has around 547 billion pesos worth of flood control projects. Over the same time period, 2018 to 2025, around 1.2 trillion pesos po yung actual na flood control budget. So we have to ask, what happened to the rest of the half? Have these been completed? We need to know, and the people deserve to know. And then finally, Mr. Chair, with regard to the insertions, it's actually only, flood control is actually only the minimal insertions to the budget. Kahit na mukhang malaki, the real insertions over the past years where there is data from 2018 to 2025, 828 billion pesos po yung may congressional insertions to the Convergence and Special Support Program, to the local program 237 billion, to the Asset Preservation Program around 163 billion, and yung flood management program po only around net of 22.8 billion pesos. So we're only seeing, a minuscule amount dito po sa flood control budget, and we hope that the Independent People's Commission can also look into these even more massive insertions that happened. We are happy to also share our findings about each of the reforms to the budget preparation, to the budget legislation, execution and accountability stage that we saw vulnerabilities of. But I will pause my statement for now, Mr. Chair, Senate President Soto. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, Professor Abante. We would like to know, the chairperson would like to know if any of our government entities present have opening statements or statements or position papers on the subject matter, or we will just ask you. The CHR chairperson Palpalatok, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. I have no prepared opening statement, Your Honor, but I would like to take this opportunity to make a statement in relation to the subject matter. And in this connection, I would like to quote one of the statements of the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, who stated that corruption has a destructive effect on state institutions and on the capacity of states to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights, particularly of those persons and groups in situations of vulnerability and marginalization. Corruption cripples budgets that should provide healthcare, housing, education, and other essential services, and it undermines the state's ability to meet its minimum core obligations and pre-existing legal obligations to maximize all available resources to respect, protect, and fulfill economic, social and cultural rights, as well as the government's commitment to the sustainable development goals. And in this connection, Your Honor, I would like to highlight that due to this corruption, it exacerbates existing discrimination and disproportionate impact. It creates this disproportionate impact on women, children, migrants, persons with disability, and persons living in poverty, among other individuals. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chairperson Palpalatok. Yes, ASEC Villar of the DPWH.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Just a brief statement from the DPWH. We are the new team supporting the Secretary Vince Dizon in his drive for, call for transparency and accountability. We just want to express, Your Honors, that you have our full support as the new team for the passage of this Senate Bill 1215, because this measure will aid in the government's anti-corruption efforts as well as the DPWH anti-corruption efforts. And this is to echo also our Secretary Vince Dizon's call na managot ang dapat managot. So we ensure and we undertake, Your Honor, that whatever documents or reports that the committee will request from the DPWH, everything will be made available. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Villar. Yes, the DBM, Attorney Baraan, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Senate President, and to all the persons present here today. We would like to manifest a few points, Mr. Chair, and to respond po dun sa mga initial comments po of our guests. First of all po, we fully support the intention of the bill. And since may independent commission na po currently, we would like to note lang po na ensure lang po na walang duplication po ng mga iti-take up po nilang mga cases. Ganyan. Baka maklarify lang po sa bill na ensure na wala pong duplication. If the intention is separate entities po sila. And then, kung ad hoc din po yung intention nitong commission po, we would like to note, baka pwede rin pong lagyan ng sunset clause katulad po dun sa EO 94. And we note po na baka gusto rin pong lagyan ng secretariat po yung itong commission na ito katulad po dun sa EO 94. As to the proposal po to have fiscal autonomy, we respectfully request for reconsideration po kasi this might be a precedent po na mag-clamor for yung other proposals for fiscal autonomy. And to note, currently po, nasa constitution lang po yung may fiscal autonomy and limited fiscal autonomy. So that is all, Mr. Chair. Thank you po.
Maybe just a quick comment there. We consider these corruption cases as unprecedented, and therefore perhaps unprecedented fiscal autonomy should be made available. Are there other? Okay. With that, the Senate President wishes to raise a few questions. Go ahead,
Yes,
Senate President.
well, before you continue with your hearing, Mr. Chairman, may I just throw a question? Actually, it's from left field. Either former Secretary Babe Singson or the DPWH representative, I just want to know what is there in the DPWH Quezon City office that was burning a few hours ago. Alaman doon.
If I'm not mistaken, this might be part of the Region 4A office. Tama ba? Kasi kung yun yung nasa Kamuning area, I'm not sure. But I know there are one or two offices along EDSA in that area, Quezon City, 4A. So I hope it is not our zone.
I just thought that the media would like to would be interested to find out. Miss, the ASEC of DPWH.
Asek Villar.
Yes, Your Honor. This is actually Region 4B, the Regional Office 4B of the DPWH.
4B.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mindoro.
Ito po yung dito po ang site ng testing materials ng DPWH na mga suppliers like semento, mga bakal. Dito po tinitest. So, we are looking into it already. Pero ito po yung testing site nung
Testing
namin.
site. Wala mga dokumento ron.
Of course, meron po, Your Honor.
Naku.
So,
Testing site, with the permission of the Senate President, testing site and the office of the regional DPWH Region 4B. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
yung mga dokumento ng regional office of the DPWH Region 4B is housed in that office.
Well,
A number,
few,
yeah.
a number, but most of it naman po nasa database na ng central. So,
Okay. Yes,
Sir, GMA News has reported that the fire specifically affected the Bureau of Research Standards building. That's what they said. Bureau of Research Standards building.
testing.
testing po, Your Honor.
Yes, Justice Andres Reyes,
Yes,
go ahead.
with due respect to that office, as per testimony of witness Bryce Hernandez, there is 1% for the testing office of the DPWH. Per voucher is 1%. Thank you.
So the 1% documentation is gone. Okay, thank you for the information. I understand, Senate President Drilon, you were suggesting, considering that this is only 3 pages, that you'd like to go through. Go ahead.
Yes, in order to maximize our time, Mr. Chairman, if I may, first, after listening to our the resource persons, first we must emphasize that this is a fact-finding body that we are trying to form. The power is to investigate, not to adjudicate. It cannot conduct preliminary investigation, which is the role of the prosecution service, and it cannot much less adjudicate, which is a judicial function. So it is limited correctly to only investigation. Having said that, under our system and our constitution, the primary jurisdiction for investigation of anomalies is the ombudsman. The ombudsman is the primary body, but that does not prevent us from creating this commission. But having said that, we must strengthen our institutions of democracy that would exact accountability rather than keep on adding bodies. That is why I am in favor of this, in favor of the proposed commission, but it must be an ad hoc, it must have a sunset clause rather than perpetually having a duplication of functions. We recognize the Constitution. The Ombudsman has the primary authority. We strengthen the Ombudsman. For example, I read in the media that the Ombudsman has asked those who applied earlier to apply again, about 200 or so vacancies. So we must strengthen this because otherwise, the tendency, and I have been in this body before, the tendency of our structure is to keep on adding people so that you create a huge bureaucracy. Every problem that crops up, we solve it by creating an office. In this particular case, I am endorsing the commission creation because of the situation that we are in. But we should not forget the fact that our primary objective should be to strengthen our institutions of democracy that could demand accountability. And in this particular case, the ombudsman. But we have to have this ICI, or however we will call it, because of the need of the times. But as I said, we must remember that we should be limited to fact-finding. In fact, that's recognized in the bill of the Senate President. It's only fact-finding and only limited to infrastructure projects. In other words, if another Farmally case would come around, it is not in the purview of this body, because as the Senate President himself said in his measure, it is limited to infrastructure projects, past and present, but limited to investigation. In other words, it is a fact-finding body, and it will now recommend to the ombudsman or to the prosecutor the prosecution of cases. But commenting on certain areas,
On the issue of the sunset
Yeah.
provision, what timeline are you looking at?
just off the top of my head, subject to further discussion, the term of the present administration, June 30,
T28.
2028. But it's just something that we make as a reference. As I have no problems with my issue is it must have a sunset provision so that we will not have duplications. But to address the need for inadequacies in the system, we should strengthen the ombudsman. We strengthen the COA by adequate funding. That's my submission, Mr. Chairman. Rather than creating a permanent body which will again investigate or do work or do the functions of the ombudsman. That's my submission.
Yes, Chief Justice Puno, go ahead.
Are you done?
Well, there are others, but I can.
You may interject, Chief Justice Puno, in relation to the points earlier said.
No, I would like to former Senate President Drilon to continue. And then I'll also have my time
Okay.
to comment on
Okay,
the
yes.
specific provisions of the Senate bill.
Yes.
So, okay, just on the going back, on the remedies or the powers which the one of our resource person mentioned, the issuance of an HDO, I would not agree that we place this in the hands of an administrative body. It must be a judicial determination because it involves the rights of individuals to travel, the right to abode. If you an HDO is a very powerful power of government, and to allow it must be a judicial finding. Other administrative remedies we would endorse depending on
Perhaps the minimum would be a lookout order.
lookout order. Yeah. Now, the controversial issue, Mr. Chairman, is the power to hold a person being investigated in contempt. We should be very careful here because of the right against self-incrimination. Remember that the persons being called to the hearing of the ICI face potential criminal liabilities. If the ICI or the body is empowered to recommend the prosecution of people. And having said that, if one invokes his right against self-incrimination, we cannot order the detention of that person until he cooperates. The example in the Senate or in the House cannot be cited because the objective of an investigation in the Senate and the House is in aid of legislation. Now, on the other hand, the ICI or this independent commission can recommend the prosecution and therefore we cannot. I have very serious reservations about granting them the power of contempt. We have on. I think we should
On that point, Senate President Drilon, what you're saying is the remedy perhaps of this body, of this proposed body, would be to go to court
yes,
and seek the contempt order from the court.
yes, sir.
And maybe the Court of Appeal, so that it's
Whatever, but it cannot be no, and the principle, whether it's in the regular court or in the or this body, where the contempt would require the answering of questions which can incriminate, whether it's in this body or in the court of law. In my mind, the right against self-incrimination.
For example, well, we do have this case with the Discayas.
Yes.
They now refuse to cooperate with the ICI.
Yes.
Well, what is the remedy of the ICI? Or what should be
the remedy of the
remedy?
ICI?
Yeah.
The remedy of the ICI is to assess what they have gathered as evidence, recommend to the ombudsman whatever action they find necessary, and the lookout of the Discayas is that the matter will be decided without their evidence that is presented. But that is how the system works, because another system could have more dangers. Now, the matter of it is also mentioned by the private, by the businessman, that some private group must approve the appointment of the president. I don't think that's possible, because the power of the president to appoint is constitutional. He is the appointing authority. He is elected by the people. For a private group to be given the power to pass upon these appointments, regardless of how well-meaning they are, I don't think that can stand constitutional scrutiny, Mr. Chair. So
they can recommend.
They can limit. For example, there is nothing wrong with recommendation, and we can even legislate, as proposed by Senator Soto, that the nominations of a retired justice must be passed upon by it can be exercised by some group. Integrated bar can recommend. The president's power to appoint can be limited by that. His authority can be exercised only on the nominees. Now, we have done that, Mr. President, in existing laws. I myself wrote that in the charter of the Professional Regulatory Commission, so that only those recommended by the professional body can be appointed as a member of the boards. Pwede po yan. So, I mean, we have done that.
Then in my case, the Coconut Levy Trust Fund.
Yes, the Coconut Levy Trust Fund.
And
the representative of the farmers
Yes.
must be nominated by
That's
the
right.
farmers group. Now, I can understand the impatience of our people, but we must remember that we have certain safeguards in the Constitution that cannot be disregarded, so that whatever models we use, the first model that we look at is our Constitution, and let us not be carried by the desire to do away with certain procedures for the sake of what we see today. At this point, I yield the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you, Senate President Drilon.